Hello everyone, I'm Casey Carapedian, the Disneyland Geek, bringing you a very special edition today for the show. As you may or may not already know, famed science fiction author Ray Bradbury passed away last night at the age of 91. He was probably one of the greatest science fiction authors we have ever seen, having written around 27 novels, including such stories as The Martian Chronicles, Something Wicked This Way Comes, and Fahrenheit 451. The whole world will miss him, but so will his grandson, which is me. Having visiting him every so often, usually for Thanksgiving, I would always enjoy listening to his stories about his love of everything Disney. And I always had a fun time walking around through his basement, finding various Disney memorabilia, whether it's artwork, flip books, even Disneyland tickets. The reason I'm bringing him up today in this special edition of the Disneyland Geek was because, just like me and many other fans out there, Ray Bradbury was such a big fan of Walt Disney. Having been a very young age, he was able to see movies like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs and Fantasia the day they usually opened, and he immediately fell in love with those films and many others. He also had the rare fun opportunity of running into Walt Disney in a store once, and they soon became friends. I remember one time I got to go with my grandpa to the special press event for Disneyland's 50th anniversary of the parks. And one of my favorite stories that he told me was one time when he had lunch with Walt. He visited him in his office, but Walt's secretary told Grandpa that he only had an hour to spend with him, because obviously Walt was a busy man, so Ray was like, okay. And as soon as that hour was up, Ray started to get upset he had to go, but then Walt was like, oh no, please, wait, I want to show you some things first. And so he showed Ray some of the things the studios were working on, like some of the rides they were going to add to the theme parks. They eventually got back to the office 2 hours after 1. And the secretary was giving Ray a dirty look, and he was like, no, it was his fault, not mine. So it's always one of my favorite stories I enjoyed hearing from my grandpa. Ray had even fought alongside with Walt to try to get the monorail installed as a transportation system for Los Angeles. Because, I mean, let's face it, the monorail is a very convenient and great way of transportation. It's quiet, doesn't make too much noise, and Grandpa had kept saying, like, please, for God's sake, don't build the subways. Ray Bradbury had even contributed during the creation of EPCOT Center at Walt Disney World. For it was he who wrote the first original script for Spaceship Earth that you heard when you wrote it for the first time back in 1982. He'd even contributed to some of the creations for Disneyland Paris. For one time when I visited my grandpa at his house, I had noticed a book about Disneyland Paris. It's actually a famous book. It's become a collector's item. It's called Disneyland Paris, From Sketch to Reality. They'd recently done a reprint of this book, but Grandpa gave this one original edition to me because he has a thing to say in this book about the Orbitron, because he contributed to the idea that the planet should go the opposite of the rockets to make it look as though you were going faster. Ray Bradbury was such a great fan of Disney. And the day that they had Walt Disney's memorial service, PBS Radio had tried to call Grandpa to have him talk about Walt Disney, but he wasn't home. He was at Disneyland with his daughters in celebration of Walt Disney, and he would think about him that day. And as you probably already know, I've mentioned that I'll be at Disneyland for the next few days covering Cars Land, and I'm going to do the same thing for Grandpa and think about him and keep him in my hearts. My love and heart and soul go out to all of my family members and friends who knew him, and I hope you get a chance to think about him too. Go out and read one of his books, maybe even see some of his film adaptations that had become, and even try to find videos of or get DVDs of the Ray Bradbury Theater, which was a TV show for a while, and we will all miss him, and even I especially. So, goodbye, Ray Bradbury. Grandfather, I will miss you.